This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560 The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. We've got people talking about the Orwellian name Safety Act in Illinois. This is the no cash bail, defenestrate the police, don't prosecute anybody law that was, legislation that was signed into law by Governor Spalding.
And you know who's talking about it right now? High schoolers. I can't believe everybody knows about it because I said, well, what's going on? They said, oh, now it's on the Instagram. Or what the Instagram and Snapchat, and they're passing this, the still screen of what, if you commit what crime, you can get out, like arson, burglary, second-degree murder, and they're engaged, so this is good.
No bail for,
Bail. Yep.
A series of violent offenses, including but not limited to some of what you just mentioned, and yes, that I've seen that being distributed, which is good. Keith Pekow is the mayor of Orland Park. He's also a candidate for Congress. He's running against Sean Casten in the suburbs. He understands what time it is as it pertains to his concerns for the village he currently represents as mayor, Orland Park, and what the Safety Act would mean for his community.
As of January 1st, 2023, the following things will go into effect, and people need to be aware of this. It abolishes cash bail for almost every offense. This includes, but isn't limited to, kidnapping, armed robbery, second-degree murder, drug-induced homicide, aggravated DUI, threatening a public official, and aggravated fleeing and eluding. Offenders released on electronic monitoring have to be in violation for 48 hours before law enforcement can act. They could almost drive to Alaska before we can even look for them. It denies victims their constitutional rights. And keep this in mind, businesses and homeowners. Officers will no longer be able to remove trespassers from your residence or your businesses. Someone could decide to live in your shed, and all we can do is give them a ticket. You have to decide what level of force is required to remove them and whether or not it's legal. This is a massive threat to the residents of Orland Park, Cook County, and Illinois.
I thought the emergency test messaging as the underbed there, as the bed for the remarks was nice touch. But that trespassing example he gave, by the way, businesses and residents, is absolutely true.
Yeah, they can live on your property or in your business or outside of your business, and you can't. If you call the police, all they'll do is be able to give them a ticket, and that's it.
Much more on this is coming, but just again to try to drive this point home, to make it real, getting beyond statistics and just sort of real world implications. We've got number 36, according to CWB Chicago. 36 person accused of killing or shooting or attempting to kill or shoot someone in Chicago while awaiting trial for a felony this year. These alleged crimes involve at least 70 victims, 17 of whom have died. In other words, there are 70 additional victims, 17 people who are dead, who wouldn't be, who shouldn't be, if people who had been charged with felonies were not no cash, or in Cook County's case, very low cash bailed out, as number 36 was, for engaging in a rolling gun battle 3 years ago.
We say these numbers, but there's a person linked to every single number here. 17 people are dead that should not be dead. And so I think Kim Foxx has blood on her hands, and then they're just going to exacerbate it by this Safety Act.
Kim Foxx, Lori Lightfoot, Governor Pritzker, anybody who supports essentially making what de facto has been the situation under Foxx and Lightfoot in Cook County, scaling that, making that the law of the state, which is exactly what the Safety Act does. For more on this and a couple of other issues, pleased to be joined again by Tom DeVore. He's the Republican nominee for Attorney General Illinois. More information on his candidacy and campaign, tomdevore.com. Tom, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good morning, Dan. Hello, Amy.
We talked a bit about this last week when you were on, and we want to get to some other issues you've taken a position on recently that are intriguing. But just the commentary on the Safety Act, what your perspective is, what you would intend to do if, as Attorney General, if this were to go into effect January 1, given what you're hearing from prosecutors as well as mayors like Keith Pico.
It's the biggest conversation in the state right now, Dan, by far. I mean, I'm north to south all the time, and when you guys were talking about it, about even the kids are talking about it, it's unbelievable. I don't know how it's got their attention as fast as it did, but I'm certainly pleased. But every prosecutor, sheriff that I talk to across the state is just, they're beside themselves on how they're going to deal with this. We're going to have a mass exodus of alleged criminals that are going to be on the streets January 1st. That's a part of the conversation that doesn't happen much. But, they're not sure what to do. It's almost like everybody's in a frenzy. And, what the Attorney General can do, assuming that we have a new Attorney General, legislature passes it. So just come in and disregard it or try to work around it somehow. I don't know how appropriate that is, but hoping the discretion of the state's attorneys and the judges across the state have a significant impact. I'm hopeful for that. But certainly the Attorney General's office needs to be working with the legislature to wipe out this stuff.
Or perhaps prosecutors, if county prosecutors make a claim that this legislation is unconstitutional, at least in part.
That conversation can be had, certainly. We've had that a little bit. We're just not talking about it. But it's, it's one of those things that it sneaks up on the people, Dan. You talk about it a lot, and it's one of my main messages. These things sneak up on us when we're not paying attention. And this is just a significant example of one of those things.
Well, Governor Pritzker, we were there when he signed it, and he even said that this is a work in progress and that changes could still be made. But then you talk to people like, Chicago Police Superintendent David Brown, who said, we're hoping that this doesn't happen. Well, there's got to be a meeting or something has to happen because, as you mentioned, people are just waiting to see, but we need people to be proactive and change what this is. Is Governor Pritzker, any state reps, are they doing anything right now to change it?
Not to my knowledge. And, it's one of those realities, Amy, of we as the people of our state and even our nation, but we're talking about our state, we think that our elected leaders are more prescient and have wisdom that they don't have any more or less than everyday people. So I guarantee you there was pretty much a Nancy Pelosi moment here where we got to pass this so we can see what's in it, and didn't realize what they were doing, and now they're all paralyzed with looking like a bunch of fools. I'll use that word. Looking like a bunch of fools, and so they're paralyzed. That's what I think.
Yeah, and they're all up for re-election too.
That's exactly what it is. That they've been exposed, and now they're looking for ways to direct people's attention away from this. They don't want to talk about the merits of it. So, they need to create boogeymen like me and other people to say that you're racist or you're this or you're that, because they can't talk about the substance of this, including the process by which it was passed. There's a good editorial from the Chicago Tribune, actually, back when it was under the stewardship of Kristen McQuarrie, the editorial board there, and comparing what New Jersey did versus what Illinois did. Boy, when New Jersey is a model for good government for you, then you know how far you've fallen. But the Tribune editorial goes like this. When public officials in New Jersey began exploring eliminating cash bail in that state's criminal justice system, the governor, lawmakers, prosecutors, and public defenders spent years hashing out a bill with the legislature. When it finally passed, there was no surprise factor. Not so in Illinois, where a controversial, sweeping criminal justice reform bill, more than 700 pages in length, eliminating cash bail was just one piece, flew through the House and Senate during a lame duck session. The Senate voted on the bill in the middle of the night. House Democrats cut off questions from Republicans minutes before new General Assembly was sworn in. This is back from January of 2021, and we have the roll call, which is basically a party line vote. But just the difference between Illinois ramming this through because it was the pet project of the Black Caucus, and Governor Pritzker was going to do their bidding, versus what even New Jersey did, a Democrat state like New Jersey did.
You're right, Dan, and that's another conversation that we can save for a later day. But those rules that you're talking about on how this legislation was passed, which is not extraordinary, it happens with a lot of legislation in Illinois. I think there's a significant due process violation for the people of the state in the way that legislation is crafted, presented, rammed through in the middle of the night without giving a meaningful opportunity for the public to participate. I think there's constitutional problems with that as well.
Now, this other issue that you put a statement out on Friday, that is, this issue of J.B. Pritzker paying state employees more than their state set salary, $1.5 million a year to top 15 employees in his administration. He's giving them out of his own pocket. Bruce Rauner did something like this as well, and I always found this a bit questionable because state employees work for the people, because that's who pays their salaries. But when you're getting an enhancement from the particular individual in state government you work for, then you prioritize that particular individual over your responsibilities to the Constitution and to the rule of law in the state. And certainly it calls that into question. And you think that this $1.5 million a year that Pritzker is paying out to his top 15 employees could be violative of state law?
Absolutely do, and I would say this to you, Dan. When the narrative that you just gave, I would respectfully suggest to you that it's following along with the narrative that Pritzker and the Democrats have put forth. He's not giving anyone any salary supplements. He is giving them a gift. And when I break this down for you, you can go into what gift, you can look at the IRS code, etc. But anytime you give someone something, money, etc., without expecting anything back from them in equal return, that's a gift. So when J.B. Pritzker, directly or indirectly, gives money to these people, that private transfer to them of money, there's nothing given in exchange for that. He can put a label on it of whatever he wants. Oh, they don't make enough money, I'm giving them more money. That has nothing to do with his private interests. So it's not a supplement of salary. That is a red herring that they've created. It's an absolute transfer of money to these state employees from a private individual in exchange for nothing. And the fact that he's the governor is irrelevant. This is a private citizen, a private entity, gifting money to state employees. It's an absolute gift, so the next step is whether he's a prohibited source or not. But again, our people of the state should quit calling it a supplement of salary. It's not. The legislature, the people define how much money our state employees get paid for the services they provide. We deem what's adequate. That's what they get paid. He's gifting them money, and we get to the prohibited source in a second. But whether it's a prohibited source or not is the only question.
So then, if it's a prohibited source, if that determination is made, then it's a violation of the state's Gift Ban Act.
Exactly. What if J.B. Pritzker decided, well, I don't think the legislators make enough money, so I'm going to supplement their salaries?
Right.
Starts getting what if ComEd says, I don't think that these 15 administrative officials of Governor Pritzker, I don't think they make enough money, I'm going to supplement their salary. It starts becoming more glaring. So the fact that he's the governor, take it out of the question. This private organization of the governors that he controls is giving them money for nothing.
Oh, and car rides and clothes. Yeah, I mean, and that's why they are so rude to certain members of the media that they don't like, because they don't work for us. They work for JB, and they'll protect him at any cost.
Well, think about, and I'll use Andy Marr as an example, and I'm not speaking on Andy in particular. We don't see many things the same. You know, he was a legislator. Before that, I think he was a teacher. He gets appointed to work for the governor at $120,000 a year that the legislature and the people said is adequate for your services. And then it gets deviled pretty much by Pritzker's private resources. I mean, that, to me, that is glaring. It's a gift. And again, we'll get to the prohibited source conversation in a second. But But it just reeks of impropriety, that's for certain. And moreover, again, it's a violation of the Gift Ban Act, in my opinion.
So let's get to the prohibited source question, and you continue to use former state senator Andy Menard as the deputy governor as the example, or what have you. But the argument then maybe is, well, wait a second, these employees are under the charge of the governor, so it doesn't present the sort of same concerns as the governor providing more money to state legislators personally for their salaries. That crosses the line of executive to legislative branch and so forth. So since these employees are under his charge, he's not a prohibited source.
Well, I understand the analogy that we're comparing, again, two different fact patterns, but keeping in mind the Gift Ban Act is about not actually necessarily prohibiting impropriety, but taking the appearance of impropriety away. So if you look at the statute, a prohibited source is really subjected to four different types of criteria. One of them is the source, and again, the source is J.B. Pritzker, the source is not the governor, is J.B. Pritzker doing business or trying to do business with the state? Of course he does. He has billions of dollars of contracts with the state. And the analysis is not, well, okay, is the money that these people are getting, is it really causing any, definitive impropriety? That's not the analysis of the law. J.B. Pritzker is doing business with the state. The second one of them that I think applies is, are J.B.'s interests, it says interests, that's a very broad term, which could be political interest, personal interest, financial interest, or his interests substantially impacted by the performance of these employees. We could get all kinds of conversation going about that. Even his political interests are substantially impacted by these people. This loyalty thing that you're talking about, Dan, about, them being loyal to him and not to the people, you can put that within the definition of a prohibited source, and it fits right in there.
Yeah, I think this is really interesting. And so I saw from your release you're calling on the Office of the Executive Inspector General to open an investigation into the propriety of this. And you expect to hear back some indication on that this week?
I'm not sure, because here's what has to happen at a minimum, in my opinion, from the Ethics Commission. There is no doubt, it is 100% unequivocal, that it's a gift to these individuals. There needs to be an explanation given to the people of this state on how J.B. Pritzker is not a prohibited source. That is the conversation. There has to be an explanation given to the legislature, to everyone. He's not a prohibited source. And do that analysis and let us look at it and read it, and reasonable minds can have a conversation. In my opinion, from what I've looked at, there's a significant question and a significant argument that he is a prohibited source. If they want to try to argue that he's not, they need to lay it out to us how it's not. I mean, he has billions of dollars of contracts with the state that the governor's office or the administrative agencies control. He controls the administrative agencies. I want to hear them lay it out of not only is there a real conflict, is there even an appearance of a conflict, because the law is intended to eliminate even these appearances because it causes our people to question the integrity of our government.
He is Tom DeVore, Republican nominee for Illinois Attorney General. Tom DeVore, DEVORE, TomDeVore.com for more info on his campaign. Tom, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
All right. Take care.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
You have the right to know and the freedom to choose what's best for you and your family's well-being. This has been the Trinity Health Freedom Expo motto since it was started by my father many years ago. I'm Julie Whitman-Klein, the Expo producer, and I'm pleased to invite you to the Tinley Park Convention Center on October 15th and 16th for the 30th Health Freedom Expo. Our goal is to ensure reputable and uncensored access to current information and the top products from the natural health industry. Our experts